So this car is a 1983 Alpina C1 2.3. So it's based on the E21 body style for BMW. They were from the factory, you know, the 323s were 140, 150 horsepower. Alpina took them, built 50 or 60 of these C1 2.3s that are more like 175 horsepower. They're really very rare. You just don't see. You'll occasionally see one on Bring a Trailer, but there's not very many of them left. I've had this car 10 years, 10 or 12, and so I found it kind of pre-Bring a Trailer, pre-online auction period. But I think I actually found it on Bring a Trailer back when it was just, for those that don't know what Bring a Trailer started out as, it was just a blog basically, right? And finding cool and interesting cars that the guys would put out there. And I found it, and I think it was actually listed on eBay. And I really like the E21 body style. So I'm an old boxy BMW guy. So I like the old series. You know, I've got a couple of M5s, I've got an M5 35. I like that old kind of boxy style around that. And so this was particularly, you know, the E21 body style was one that I really liked. And when you combine that with the Alpina livery, I always really thought the Alpina livery was cool. Alpina built a number of really high-end turbo cars. This wasn't one of those, but still, you know, horsepower was up 20-30% over what stock was, with a revised suspension, with a revised intake. And so, I just found it online. A dealer actually had it, and I bought it from a dealer. So the E21s, you know, had a little bit of oversteer. They can be a little. They're not quite 911 oversteer grade. But in the wet, you got to kind of pay attention to it, but it also helps you go a little faster in the twisties. It's one of those, you know, you hang out the rear end a little bit in this compared to some. But you know, 170 horsepower in the period, you're right, you know, an 83, you know, that was kind of equivalent to the 911s, you know, in that period as well. Alpina was, you know, part of their thing was comfort as well as performance. So they weren't just a full-on, you know, max performance company. It was a little bit of both, so it's got super good seats in it. I mean, it's very comfortable. My wife and I have been on a couple rallies in it. She can even take it. So it's not so, I've got a couple of cars that are, my wife's not super excited about going on the rallies on because they're kind of all out. And this is kind of a nice blend of the two. I have not done a lot to it. We just kind of went through a cycle end to end on it, you know, just kind of a freshening of the car. The only thing that was an issue with this car, a core issue, was second gear synchro in it was not great when I bought it, and it went downhill really fast. So we actually just put a new transmission in it 3 or 4 months ago. Now it just shifts like a dream. It's great. We've gone through all the suspension. I mean, it is, I was just driving it up here today, and it's like, you get to the point, I'm contemplating selling it now, but now I've got to the point where it's really good, and so do I really want to sell it now? Because it's really great right now.